Welcome to Southern Steep. Southern Steep is a public health and social justice podcast that centers the voices of community leaders in the Southern United States. Conversations center on innovative approaches to unapologetic leadership, meaningful partnerships, and thriving communities. I am one of the four co-hosts of this show, Isaiah Webster. I am joined by Nicole, Torrian Baskerville, and Bianca Ward. And we are all coming to you for the second time because this is the season finale, the season 1 season finale of Southern Steep. So guys, how does it feel to be one season in?
I'm a little sad. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little sad. Season finales, even with like your favorite shows, you kind of don't want it to end, or there's gonna be that pause before the season begins again. So it's like there's a longing after a season finale for me. But kudos to us for making it through a first season.
We did this thing, but one of the things that I like about season finales, but it's a love-hate, is that I do look so much forward to the next season, and I'm looking forward to the listeners experiencing that feeling.
I am excited for the break.
You better be honest.
Listen, it's a task with like recording and then the editing. It's fun, but it is a lot of work on the back end. But I have definitely enjoyed this space with each and every one of you. I think we all have had at least one opportunity to record together and share this space together. So it's been like it's been fun. It's definitely been fun, but I'm going to enjoy the break.
So Torrian, we did how many episodes thus far? If we include this one, how many will it be?
It will be 14 episodes. This will be our 14th episode.
That's a really good run for an initial season. Because some shows do 8, 10, maybe a dozen. So I think 14's pretty good. So I'm excited. So the way that we're going to approach this season finale is that we're not going to have a guest on, but we are going to be sharing our highlights of our favorite moments from the first episode of Southern Steep. And so we each are going to introduce that moment. We will play that clip for you, and then we will have a brief discussion afterwards on why we think that was a memorable moment, either for us or for the podcast or for the South, because those are all things that are important to us here on this podcast. Of course, it's important to point out that you're encouraged to listen to the full episodes of the moments that we're going to be referencing, and we will try to let you know either during this discussion or certainly in the episode notes which episode number and where you can find the clips that we're going to be pulling from. Southern Steep is going to be on hiatus during the summer, but we'll return in the fall with season 2, and it's going to be fabulous.
You sing it.
So we were having a little team meeting beforehand. Am I going to go first? Did we agree to that? Everyone's okay with that?
Yes,
okay,
you're going to lead the way.
I'm just going to do it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to get us started. And my memorable moment from season 1 actually comes from an episode that Torrian and I did together. And it's interesting because I don't think that Torrian and I did. This may have been the only episode we did together. Maybe we did one other one. This is from episode 7. It's when we had Deshaun Usher on the show. Torrian, did we do 1 or 2 episodes together? I don't remember.
I think we just did 1 episode together. I think we did,
and this would have been it.
This is it.
I was trying to avoid Torrian because, whatever. But we finally collaborated on episode 7, and Deshaun Usher was our special guest. So let me just set this up. So this moment is from the very beginning of the podcast. I think it's like 7 minutes in. We were trying to get Deshaun, comfortable with us. We had a bunch of questions for him about his program and about him. And we had started off by asking him, the normal kind of get comfortable questions. Oh, where are you living? How you feeling? Have you ever been on a podcast? Those sorts of things. And so that's the stage of the conversation we were in. And I was pivoting to the first kind of serious question about his organization. And I mispronounced the name of the organization. Now, when, there's a few things you don't want to do as a host of a show. You don't want to call a guest by a name that's not theirs. And you don't want to, misplace the organization that you're trying to highlight. So it was a fairly embarrassing moment. But luckily for me, I've known Deshaun for many years. And so he took it all in stride. So this is a clip from episode 7 where I was trying to be too cute and it backfired.
To see where everyone else was coming from. And I know that some people think New York is like the greatest city in the world, which it is. But it's also, I'm happy that I grew up there, but I'm also happy that as an adult, I was able to see other things outside of New York.
I think one of the things we wanted to kind of, in the whole getting to know you, kind of like the second thing we wanted to ask you about was kind of like the beginnings of Nobi, and do you use Nobi as an acronym, or because that's what I've been saying? Moby, I'm sorry.
Moby? I was like, I don't use Nobi as an
Nobi.
acronym.
We use Nobi nowhere.
Right, nowhere. Right, that'd be a Nobi for me.
When I tell you I call myself doing homework and I got all kind of notes and I'm up here saying Nobi. The look on your face though, you were like, what is he talking about? Like, Moby.
Closely related. It's well, the work with Moby, so Mobilizing Our Brothers Initiative, it started out of my work that I was doing around community engagement. I was doing behavioral research studies and biomedical clinical research trials and a bunch of other stuff. And it was just thinking about how the community that I was able to reach and engage into these different clinical trials didn't realize what was happening in front of them, right? They didn't know what resources existed. And it was unfortunate because being from the same community that I was recruiting and engaging into these different studies, it was thinking that there's this research to reality gap. And you don't need to wait 5 years in order to know about PrEP. And you don't need to wait 5 years to know where you can go to get an HIV test, because we're studying what are those best practices and behaviors. And the fact that there were so many organizations that had got money for Black gay men that never literally was not doing anything for them, but they were grandfathered in, right, into health departments, into foundations, into corporate sponsors, into walks that they were doing. And part of it was because it's the legacy of an organization, which is great. And it's great that we have that history, but it's also a time when nonprofits work to a way of not necessarily serving the community that they're trying to truly focus, versus getting money and usually keeping it either in-house or to pay for staff, and then don't have adequate budgets to actually do community engagement to reach people.
So that was an interesting moment for two reasons. First, I think it's fair to say that we're all amateurs, and I don't know that we consider ourselves professionals at this just yet. And so we're kind of learning as we're going. And despite the fact that I had done quite a bit of homework, there's always, things you need to be especially attentive to. So that was one thing that sticks out in my mind. The other thing that sticks out in my mind is the spirit of Deshaun. Some people get really bent out of shape when you get their name wrong, or you don't understand the organization and their name and those sort of things. The amount of grace he afforded me in that moment, and kind of he laughed with us. It's the spirit of that is a Southerner through and through. And we had a conversation about whether or not, Deshaun is really a Southerner, and we do that a lot on this show. He encapsulated the spirit of a Southerner, because a Southerner in that particular moment would do exactly what he did. That is the spirit of what we've tried to capture on this show. And I feel like that was, for me, that moment is memorable for that reason. I wanted to know, what did you all think about it, listening to it again now?
You were truly the definition of loud and wrong. And I was here for it. Because
I never say anything without conviction.
you were confident. But you're right. The way he just gently corrected and you guys pulled it back together. But kudos for you for doing your homework. But it was great. Just the episode overall was really excellent. So yeah, and I think there have definitely been other episodes where there have been those kind of hiccups, at least for me, and you just kind of pull it back together. And also, thank goodness for editing. Thanks, Torrian.
I loved it. Because one, I think it's off to Isaiah's point. You do preparation and so you come with like your best foot forward, and it's like you have all of these things in your head about how it's going to play out and how is it going to go, and then you get something, and then something happens, and it's like crap. Like, did that just happen? Did I just do that? And it just was a funny moment to see Isaiah in a very like, oh my gosh, like that just happened. Right. It just was. And then, of course, Deshaun being Deshaun, the way that he responded, I wouldn't have expected anything different from him. It just was it was a hilarious moment. And it was a genuinely hilarious moment. There was no, we all just bust out laughing like, oh, we just going to rename the organization. Got it. Why not?
When I was listening to it, when it first came out, I absolutely laughed during that part because I'm like, oh man, Isaiah did all that homework and this is all happening and like this would happen to him, and yeah, listening to it again got the big smile on my face. But I think ultimately the fact that you all were able to laugh together, bounce back, and be able to get back to the business also shows the type of leaders all of you are in that moment and just in general. And it was great to hear it not once, but also twice.
All right, episode 7. Make sure you listen to that episode. It was one of my favorites. It included my favorite moment of the season. So, Bianca, you're next on my list here. Would you like to go next?
Sure, why not? So the episode I chose, and I can't remember the number, but it was definitely more recent, was the Erin Snowden interview. So the episode Born for This. That episode, I actually listened to it more than once because it was really powerful. So I've known Erin, as we mentioned on the episode, over 10 years now, but to one, interview her in this way, to get the history behind Mama Toto Village, the organization that she works for, to hear the passion and conviction in how she feels about working in community and prenatal community birth workers, and also just her feelings about data and how we need to use that to really tell the stories of what's happening in our communities. That episode it gave me goosebumps because she was the definition of a professional superhero. So I was really proud and honored to have that opportunity. Also, that was the third episode that Nicole and I had done together, and which also just goes to show that we are a fierce duo. Okay. So in this clip, the reason I chose this clip because I feel like although she was speaking specifically to working in community with birthing mothers, it really could resonate into all of our work in just various areas of public health when we talk about the fact that the community knows what they need. So although it's specific to prenatal health, I think there was, throughout the episode, really, there are just so many gems that can transform to various aspects. So whether it be perinatal care or HIV, it definitely touched on that. So I will pull it up.
it's unicorns, and it's this. So part of our theory of change is like this proximity, right? I can't expect to go into a community that is not mine and be truly effective. You don't know me. Like, you don't know me, you don't know my mama, like, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't make sense. It is not organic, our conversation. But when I go in, I make sense, right? So I make sense to the grandma that's sitting in the corner. I make sense to the husband or the boyfriend who might be there. I make sense to their sister or their girlfriends who are coming in and out. And so the level of comfort and reception is just through the roof. And then there's a trust that's built over time. And now we've got women back into care. We're attending their doctor's appointments with them. It just flows. And so that's when we say, like, we have to trust that communities have the answers to their own problems. You can't come in from the outside and expect to fix a community's issues. And so if we start listening to the community will always come through with the answers.
So I think for me there, it was literally, and that was episode 12, but that was literally when she says the communities have the answers. And I think when we have all of these conversations, especially about community engagement and being intentional about how we engage community and what that looks like, just really remembering that to ask and get the answers from them, because they know what they need. That episode and the whole later she talks about just engaging in the medical system and how we're taught to have this respect and this trust of doctors, more so than we respect and trust our own knowing and our own selves. It was powerful. Please go take a listen. Okay. I will pause for thoughts. It was so good.
It was such a joy, and I felt honored to not only get to talk with Erin and learn all about the work that she does and what Mama Toto does, but to also bear witness to the beautiful friendship that the two of you have. It was just really nice to see you and one of your besties together in action. And Erin truly is such a special unicorn. She does such great work. Her and the perinatal birth worker, like, unicorn army.
I love the way that she she paints a picture with the colloquialisms. When she said, "You don't know my mama," I was like, that like hit me like right here. Like yes, now I know exactly what you're trying to convey when you're saying outsiders coming into the community and not being able to speak our language, to know our culture, or to be able to converse in a way that feels authentic. And just her way of, she could have said what I just said, or she could have conveyed it like she did, which was powerful because I not only heard it, but I felt it. And like to be able to get your message across in like that way that immediately takes you back to the communities that you grew up in is just, not everyone's able to do that. And so like, I love hearing her talk about the community and the way that she talks about community, because I think it's really powerful. And I think that that's what, for me, that I think that while anyone could have come on and maybe talked about this topic, I don't know that they could have talked about it in the way that she did. And so the genius of that episode is really that she brought a unique flair to the topic. And so to me, that's the standout.
I will echo Isaiah's point and uplift that. I think it was such a powerful episode. What I will also say is analytically, right, looking at the numbers, right, her numbers for that episode was like crazy.
How is that possible? Because I wasn't featured in episode 12.
Because Nicole and I were, and Erin is amazing. Carry on, Torrian, you were saying?
So that is episode 12. It has the highest downloads of all of the episodes besides our very first, the inaugural brew. And of course, that was number 1. So it had the longest time to be listened to and downloaded, right? So,
and also because Bianca was in it.
So
I'm the common denominator, just so y'all recognize.
But, I say that to say that, like, it's a testament to how that really did hit home for listeners. Like, there were people who actually was listening to it and it resonated with them as well. And so, great episode. That was a great episode.
I think it was also really timely because we're having just more and more conversations about Black maternal health. And so to really have someone who is in the work, passionate about the work and seeing it through and can speak to it in this way, I think resonated with a lot of folks. But again, Erin is pretty amazing.
So according to the stars, Torrian, you're next to go.
What a great segue, because my clip is our episode 5, Meet the Co-host, which was our very first time all coming together to have a conversation. And in that episode, we learned about our astrological signs. And so that's the episode that I am choosing. And I'm choosing that episode because when you work with individuals in the middle of a pandemic that you can see virtually, but you don't really get a chance to kind of get to know them and connect with them in real meaningful ways. I think for me, this episode really was like, oh, I get a deeper dive into who Bianca is, into who Nicole is, and into who Isaiah is. And you all can get to see that about myself. And so I am going to play a clip from that. And so the clip that I am playing, bridging into it, is when we are discussing specifically something that has always baffled me and I never understood why. But in my astrology chart, it spoke about how I jump from job to job and don't really stay long at jobs. And in this episode, we had the opportunity to ask each other questions. And so this is Bianca asking me her question. And so I'm going to play the clip and then we'll discuss it on the other end of it.
Your favorite part of your current position at NASDAQ?
Oh, wow.
Working with Isaiah Webster. You can say it because he's on the line and reviews and cool points.
I'm not going to do that. But what I will say, though, seriously, it's genuinely working with all of you. And I mean that sincerely. As you said, because of the pandemic, some of the things that my job may typically, consist of, like traveling and meeting in person with organizations, that hasn't been able to happen. But, being able to still do some of that work through the podcast has been fun and engaging. And then doing it with you all has been just that much better and makes it that much greater. I think the other thing for me is that, thus far, I've enjoyed my time here at NASDAQ and just the warm, considerate, thoughtful, team-oriented people that I have been engaged with. Just is definitely different, but it's been great, especially dealing with a pandemic and dealing with social, political uprising and unrest, right? It's been really good. And so I've been enjoying this ride so far.
And because your stars have shown that you are prone to switching occupations, I really hope that you stay with us for quite some time, because we are learning from you more and more every day. And I can definitely say that I appreciate having you on the NASDAQ team. Yes, I am going to put that out there. Stick around.
I am going to put this out there that I said earlier, I often get a lot of flack for that part, right? What I will say is that I am also one of those people, and if you read further into my chart, they also talk about how I am a person who, if I'm not feeling appreciated or if I'm not feeling valued in a space, then I'm likely to not want to continue in that space. And it could be a blessing or a curse, but my father really gave me that I don't care attitude and I don't need you kind of an attitude. And so I've, for better or for worse, I've always kind of carried that with me. What I will say is that thus far, I do see myself sticking around with NASDAQ for a really long time, just because of the culture, just because of the people, and also the work, because for me, it's always like the work is never the issue. It's always the people that you work with, potentially. That's the issue. And so I'm feeling like just the kind of the gratitude and appreciation for a lot of the people that I work with. So yeah, I think that episode for me was like, it also put stuff into context for me. It's like, okay, it's not just me. Like, this is not weird. Like, this is a thing that's in my charts. Like, it's I can explain it now.
It's nice that you're still with us, Torrian.
Oh.
And you know what? That is the one. It's funny that you chose this episode. I love that clip, by the way. This is one of the only episodes that I have never listened to. And I think it's because I was really nervous about this one for some reason. But now I have to go back and listen. That way, if for some crazy reason you do ever decide to leave us, I can pull receipts and say that you are not leaving the job, you are leaving the people, i.e. Isaiah Webster. Okay, carry on.
So now I'm wondering, is this episode that we're doing right now going to be one of these that you never listen to? Like what is going on that you listen to some but not all of the Southern Steep episodes?
No, sometimes it makes me anxious.
Understand.
I don't know. Carry on. Just carry on.
I thought for me, this was one of my favorite episodes of the season because I felt like it was like a pull back the curtain moment on the four of us and kind of like how we ended up doing this and why. And I feel like, the more you know about the co-hosts and the more you kind of can relate to them, the more likely you are to even want to listen to the show to begin with. And we talked a lot about our interviewing style and like why we feel like it works for us. And I feel like everything that kind of wrapped up, even the kind of fun part at the beginning where we were talking about the charts, I think it was all a good another way to learn about us other than just, this is my name, this is my title, and this is what my portfolio is, which, as I said during that episode, that's good, but that's not really, when we think about this particular podcast, we want it to be a little bit more deeper.
Listening, that was a really fun episode. I had a good time, but I also just have a lot of fun with the four of you. And I guess, it's the three of you because I'm the fourth. Torrian's so tall. But anyway, so no, the three of you, I'm really glad that the feelings are mutual. Like, y'all are appreciated. I appreciate you, Torrian, and I'm glad that the appreciation feeling hopefully is still present because you're here still. Torrian's making heart hands to me.
Yes, the appreciation is still present. You guys have been amazing. This has been a lot of fun doing this with you guys and gals.
Last but certainly not least is Nicole Elenoff herself. And Nicole, take it away.
So I have to be honest, I'm a little nervy about sharing my clip now that I'm last. At first it's like, oh, cool, I get to see the modeling. And now it's been all of these excellent moments. But my moment that I chose is from the episode Justine for Mayor. It's episode number 10. And fun thing about this episode is that Torrian and I had recorded with Justine previously, but it just never made it because of janky sound quality. And so we did a redemption episode with Justine. And Torrian, I'm not choosing the birthday story clip, but I am choosing a clip that I feel is a little bit more serious than some that has been shared previously, but just shows such a deeper testament to Justine's commitment to the work she does and her commitment to the community. Oh, and here I am literally just diving in and not sharing my screen.
And I think one of my leading questions is then like, you're doing so much already, right? What else does Justine want to tackle? What else does Justine want to get her hands into and mix up and make work out
My ultimate goal is to get as much as I can up here, build these connections, build these relationships, get all the knowledge, the certifications, learn systems because I want to go back home. Back home is where they need me in a place like this, and folks at home, look at me for the first time in my life as an inspiration and a role model. Um, I think Atlanta has a great, I think other places, DC has a huge amount of great advocates and leaders. But from where I'm from and the areas around it, it's no one there to advocate. I know that at this point, if I was to go home, I never would find a job. I would be looked over just because of discrimination and stereotypes when it comes to folks like me. And so I want to gather as much as I can, and I just want to change the trajectory of LGBT, sexual health, policies, and all of that down in rural places across the South. I'm a country girl at heart. I love it. I love horses, pigs, cows. I love all of those things, and that's where I belong. I'm here in Atlanta for a short time, and I know it's just as soon as I'm able and as soon as I have all of the things I need, I'm going back home and I'm changing stuff. I'm not going to see another one of my sisters or my loved ones or anyone, feel alienated. I'm not going to see them being murdered and no one does anything about it. I'm not going to see people losing their lives to HIV-related complications. Like that won't happen no more if I have something to do with it. So this is a filler for what my biggest dream is, and that is to go home and just take over. Like, for clarity, when you have smaller places and you have rural towns in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, all of those places, how we have organizations here on every single corner doing things, there's only the health department. And me learning the health department may get $100,000 for, at best, for programming and initiatives that, reduces that stigma or prep material and all of that. So I think that it takes someone down there to open up their own stuff and run it with the community in hand to kind of change that. There's no HIV education. We're ran by the church. Our elected officials are people who are church pastors and all of that. So they come with their own stereotypes and biases and their own interests. And that affects your constituents. That affects people who were born and raised in these communities. That affects them. So that's what I want to do. I don't want to come in here and take somebody's lead role at the CDC because that's not me. That's not Justine. I don't want to be the person who is always on the biggest interviews and TV shows and that, because that's not Justine. Justine is for the people and want to do the work for the people, and she want to go home and just help the folks who need it the most.
Listening to that, I still get some goosebumps because she really is so committed to her community and her folks back home. And she's picking up all of the seeds. She's packing up some seeds of knowledge, and she's going to take them back home to Macon, and she's going to sprinkle the seeds and water them. And it's going to be, some beautiful flowers. So I just wanted to share that with y'all, that moment.
As your co-host to that episode, and interviewing Justine for the second time, I think we knew what she brought to the table and how amazing she really is from the first episode that we did. I think the second one really elevated it and just made it very clear that she's one of those gems in the South that often gets overlooked because they're really so, their face is so planted in the work that they don't really get the opportunity to kind of come up and kind of see the light and don't often get those flowers. So it was great to be able to give another opportunity to give her flowers for the work that she's doing down in Georgia. She's just brilliant, so committed, so authentic, so just Justine, that it was just, yeah, she's definitely a favorite of mine from getting to know her.
She's truly a Southern gem, and she knows herself, and that's a gift.
I think what I love is just the idea of going back to your roots and where you're from to take care of your community. I know oftentimes people are eager to leave and get away from and get out of, especially if it is an area that is literally not safe for them, and never want to return. So the fact that she is very clear, like, I'm going to get all of the things, all of this knowledge and go back and help and serve is powerful and truly, and it's a testament to her own greatness. So yes, Justine for mayor. And this is the first when you guys recorded the first time, although the audio was a little, that episode also was really, really great. Justine is truly, she is amazing. She is a gift, and she exudes that passion that she has for the work and for the community. Amazing.
So I can relate to almost everything Justine said in her episode. The only thing that I could not relate to is her love of the horses, the pigs, and the cows, because as y'all know, I'm very cosmopolitan. So if we take that portion out of Justine's comments, I would like to identify myself with everything else that she said. Particularly what struck with me, I've been doing HV now for more than 20 years. And I remember why I started doing this work to begin with, because I was in Louisiana, in rural Louisiana, to Justine's point. And there were plenty of people doing HAV work. And they were great people doing HAV work. I'm not trying to shade them at all. They were doing some very important and hard work. But they were oftentimes women. They were oftentimes white women. And particularly in the leadership roles, I would see gay men of color involved. I would see their expertise being tapped, but I rarely saw them running the program. I rarely saw them in leadership roles. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do, because I see that I might have a skill or two that can contribute to changing this. And so I get it. So when Justine says, it's cute, CDC, that's cute, federal government, that's cute, I want to go back home. I get that 100%, because that person's me. Like, she doesn't have to say any more about it, because I'm right back to why I got into this work to begin with. Justine, if you're listening, great episode. We were very happy to have you on. So, Nicole, you want to say something?
Yeah, she came on not just once, but twice. So thank you so much for your patience with us and for being the gem that you are.
So that concludes our memorable clips, but we want to do one other thing before we close out. So we normally have a Southern Charm segment. As we shared, there was a lot of a lot of back and forth, shall we say, around what we're going to call that segment, but we landed on Southern Charm. And it's usually where we highlight programs or folks in the South that are doing spectacular things that we think need a spotlight on. So we're going to do our Southern Charm today, but the spotlight is going to be us. And I'm going to ask each co-host to give appreciation to one other person. And I'm saying one other person just as a way of doing some editing in here, which I know Torrian will appreciate. And I'm going to go first, because that means I get my pick of the litter of who I want to give my appreciation to. And I'm taking the producer's prerogative, and Bianca can just be in her feelings about it. I'd like to give an appreciation to Torrian, because the listeners should know that he has done the bulk of the behind the scenes work for the podcast. He has helped to edit every single episode. He has done the heavy lifting in that regard, the heavy lifting in making sure that it gets posted, the heavy lifting in working with our communication staff. And all four of us have a hand in the podcast, but it's not an equal hand. Torrian has done more work than we have done. I think that should be recognized and acknowledged. And so I want to give Torrian an appreciation for all of his hard work on Southern Steep. It has not gone unnoticed. And as a matter of fact, I think it's been outstanding. And Torrian, you get to go next.
So are we passing it along when we're done?
So long as Bianca goes last, I think that'll be fine.
So first, thank you, Isaiah. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. My my appreciation is actually going to go to Isaiah. And it's going to go to Isaiah.
We didn't plan this. I
because
swear we didn't plan
I
this.
promise we didn't. But I am saying this because there would be no podcast without us having that meeting talking about what can we do to bring CBOs in. And you like, what about a podcast? And we all looked at each other like, duh, like, yeah, sign me up, right? And so without your vision to see the climate that we were in and like being virtual and being able to say like, hey, let's do a podcast, you know, and we wouldn't be here, or at least we wouldn't be here in this juncture, right? And in this moment. So I'm giving appreciations to you for that. And also, as a person who edits all of these episodes, unlike Bianca, I listen to all of them.
He's choosing violence today, but carry on, Torrian.
And you know, they are all really great episodes. And you know, I will say that with Isaiah, the episode that we had with Deshaun was definitely one of my favorites. And your personality and the color that you bring to this space is quite hilarious to listen to and edit. Now, Nicole, you can go since Isaiah can't go again.
I'd like to give a gift to Bianca.
But you don't have to.
But I want to. I very much do. And if anything, I was really nervous for a moment that Bianca was going to get stolen. So, Bianca, this gift is for you. So first of all, Bianca, we don't work in the same department. We don't even work in the same office because, like, what office? But just for a record, it's for the pandemic. But like ultimately, it's been such a treat to not only get to share this space with you, but also get to know you a little bit more and have a lot of laughs and get to really talk to some amazing, transformative people. And specifically some powerful women and, you know, empowered women empower women. You know, that was one of our last episodes we did together. And I really think you are truly an empowering woman. You are a public health superhero. I see you with your kids. I see you out here with your business, with all of the things, and just sharing so much joy with all of us. And I really appreciate you and everything you bring to this space together with everyone else. So thank you.
Thank you. And so my appreciation was going to be for you as well, because I don't know what Torrian and Isaiah did, it just messes up. But it was going to be with you anyway, because one of the things that I was going to say is that, one, I've recorded more episodes with you than I think with anyone else. And so I just appreciate the energy that you bring and our connection and the laughs. And you're right, we've had some really awesome guests and some episodes that have definitely been close to the heart. So one, thank you for also being behind the scenes, getting all of this scheduling together and tracking down folks and making this happen. You are appreciated for sure. And also just, you know, being amazing. And eventually when we are in the same space, teaching me how to ride a bike. Thank you. And I have one more appreciation, and it's really for all three of you, because you saw this young girl from the care team and said, come on over to this side. Because for those who don't know, I don't even work with these people. So thank you for inviting me into your home.
So, do you not know how to ride a bicycle? And how did I not know this? Or did I know? Did you tell me and I forgot?
Torrian edited it out.
Did you really?
Did I edit it?
No, he
I
didn't.
think Torrian. I don't know if it made the cut.
I think
We talked about it in our Southern Charm when we
I
talked
know.
about the
Yeah.
ride for life.
Yeah, smart. But
Smart ride.
Did he
I think-
take out the
I-
part of me offering lessons?
No, I think I left that part in. I think I left I took some of the other parts out. But I think that part about riding a bike is still in.
I think all of us need to go back. Sorry
So,
for the
Bianca,
accusation.
so just to be clear, do you know how to ride a bike or not?
Just to be clear, Bianca Ward does not know how to ride a bike, and she is over the age of 6 years old.
You're over the age of 30.
Now you're being rude.
And you talk about me choosing violence.
I mean, so this summer we can add that to your list of things you can learn how to do. Any final thoughts from anyone before we sign off?
This has been fun. I look forward to, maybe that's a question. What do you look forward to about season 2?
Oh, you're adding to the
Mr.
arc?
Webster.
Is that what you're doing? Are
Yeah.
you adding to the arc? Because the show's over.
Bianca's interview style is asking questions.
It is. So the last question I'll ask is, what do you look forward to about season 2?
Mr. Webster.
You know what? I think with any good show, even when season 1 goes great, season 2 usually is better, no matter what it is, because everyone's like completely in the groove at that point. The audience kind of knows what to expect. They come in with a level of expectations that are generally met because everyone kind of is a little bit more familiar. And so I think there'll be some refinements to our show, but I think that I feel like it can only get better because I think we have a great foundation. So I'm excited to see ways that we can continue to grow it into what it's going to be next.
I'm excited also for the growth, but also to see who we're going to be bringing on next season and, what great advocates and activists and people in this work we're going to be bringing on. I think, again, having listened to all of the episodes, all of the guests have been amazing this season. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how we elevate that for next season.
I'm also looking forward to the guests. I want to hear more stories, more of their reasons why. I think that was kind of a theme throughout the episode. That's really powerful to hear how and why they're doing the amazing work that they're doing.
I'm excited to cover some more ground in the South. I think that we've talked to a lot of really incredible Southern communities and folks from those communities, but I'm really looking forward to talking to some folks from communities you might not hear much from. Oklahoma, Arkansas, we're coming for you.
All right. Season 2 will begin in the fall, likely in September sometime. So be on the lookout for that. And as always, thanks for listening. I'm Isaiah Webster.
I'm Bianca Ward.
I'm Nicole Elenoff.
And I'm Torrian Baskerville.
Y'all did it without talking over each other. I love it. See, we finally got it. We're out.
Thanks for joining us.